I'm Sarah Dawkins from Sarah Dawkins Essential Health. On the 7th of January 2023, we hosted the Heal Yourself online summit, where 15 experts in self-healing kindly gave up their time to impart their wisdom to audiences watching live on Facebook, Twitter and LinkedIn. We've taken all of these live videos and made them available to you here, free on YouTube, for everyone to benefit. I hope you enjoy this and find it helpful. If you want to watch the rest of the speakers, you can do so here. Please don't forget to like and comment on this video and subscribe to my channel. If you want to find out more about myself, my journey and the journey of others through self-healing, you can visit my website at www.sdessentialhealth.com, and you can find my book Heal Yourself on Amazon. Links are in the description below. Thank you for your time. This is a clip of Natasha Sharma, who is a counsellor, hypnotherapist and psychotherapist in Mumbai, talking about the beauty of the end game.
What if today is the last day of your life? How does that make you feel when I ask you this question? What are the thoughts that are running through your mind? What are the feelings and emotions that are rising up? Where in your body are you feeling them? When we talk about death, then one of the 7 stages of grief is what will be happening to you. Okay? So it's either shock, denial, anger. What is she talking about? Bargaining. No, it can't be. There's nothing wrong with me. How can I possibly die today? And then a feeling of intense sadness, which is in the wheelhouse of depression. And then the final stages of grief don't really apply here, but if you have worked on it and if you have considered the subject, then there would be acceptance and hope. Acceptance of the fact that, yes, okay, fine, I'm going to die today, and hope that it goes nicely and painlessly and as easily as possible. Right? And then there is the final stage, which is testing to see how you are processing this. Is it okay? Is it not? Does this apply? Does it not apply? Okay. So every time we go through a huge change in life, we go through one of the stages of grief. So before I continue, let me introduce myself. My name is Natasha Sharma. I am a clinical hypnotherapist by profession. I work with money and manifestation. I am an author, a speaker, and a mentor. I have a mission to talk about death openly and often. I would like it to become a day-to-day dinner table conversation where we discuss death, that of ourselves and of anyone else at the table, as easily as we discuss planning our next birthday party. There's birth and there's death and there's life in between. Birth is predetermined, as is the day that we exit. What is not planned is how we go. As a result of which, there's a lot of often there is fear around that, because of it's unknown. We don't know when and we don't know how. Given that we are people who work with the people, means all of us speaking at the summit, we work with the mind, body, and the spirit. We are aware that it is one cohesive unit. It's not separate. You can go to a doctor for a physical illness or a disease, but the roots of those illnesses and diseases start from an emotional place, from thoughts that convert into emotions, and emotions that continuously repeat, then take root in the body if they're negative emotions over and over and over, and that translates into an illness. So if I stick with the topic of death, when we talk about the fear of death, or the stress, the underlying stress that that fear causes, whether it's our own death or whether it's a consideration of the death of a loved one, then it is the respiratory system that gets affected. That is the reason why so many people who have never smoked, for example, can suddenly be diagnosed with lung cancer and all sorts of bronchial and, tracheal uh, illnesses. And so it is vitally important that we process this fear around death if we are aware that we are scared. Denying that fear um, is not the smart thing to do. To process it, get past it, to move on to the other side of it, so you can start living life to its fullest with gratitude for the day, for the ability to really enjoy. This whole thing of carpe diem uh, is not hedonistic. It's actually very, very pragmatic, I found in my experience. Um, so, before I continue, I'd like to offer up my freebie, which is the chapter that I wrote, which made me a published author. So, I wrote a chapter called The Beauty of the Endgame, which is the title of my session today as well. And so, it's Beauty of the Endgame, Finding Abundance Through Accepting Death. And it was a part of a collaborative book called Wealth Codes, Sacred Strategies to Abundance. So I am giving my chapter away to anybody who writes into me at Natasha at mind hyphen or dash bodyspeak.com. If you write in the subject Summit WC11, then I will send you the PDF of my chapter. So in the chapter, just to give you a heads up, I dive into how you can use the stages of grief to your advantage as a powerful tool. And the interesting thing about grief is that it's not just about death. It is about any kind of loss or huge change that happens in our lives. And we go through the same 7 stages. And these stages are not sequential necessarily. We move up and down and back and forward between the different stages. And each stage, therefore, can lend itself to a physical disease or an injury if we are not mindful of it. So, whilst we have to die, we don't necessarily have to die of a prolonged illness. We can go easily, we can go suddenly. When our time is up, we can just go. We will not live forever. Nobody lives forever. Now, being in denial of that actually prevents us from living today fully. So what happened to me personally was during the pandemic, when I saw people of all different ages and stages of life just dropping dead and leaving their affairs in huge messes, intelligent businessmen just left everything awry. And that happened because they never considered that they were going to die, or they weren't going to die so soon, because they felt that they will, grow old and whatever. But even old people, a lot of old people I know left semi stuff done and a lot undone, and that causes a lot of inconvenience to the people who you leave behind. So first, let's discuss ourselves, our lives, and our deaths. We need to be cognizant of the fact, and we need to be responsible for the fact that we may leave our loved ones any minute. And if we leave them any minute, they are going to go through the grieving process. They are going to be in shock. They will have so many things to process in themselves. On top of that, if you don't leave your affairs in order, they have to deal with all that bureaucracy, and there's so much that goes into taking care of a person's affairs, that the kindest thing that we can do for our loved ones is leave things as organized as we possibly can. Now, of course, number one, it would be great if there's an official will and everything is nominated and there are like passwords kept in a place that at least one person knows, so they can access your emails and any kind of like digital footprint that you have. That would be brilliant. It does, but if you don't have a final official will and last testament, even if you have like a document that lists your last wishes down to the fact that would you like to be buried or would you like to be cremated, what do you want done with the ashes, like I said, these are my passwords, I don't, what kind of funeral do you want, and then this is what I want done with my clothes and my possessions, and give it to charity or give it to my favorite niece or whatever it is. Now, I found that when I went through that process, it was really liberating for me. We know as a concept, most of us, that of course we can't take anything with us. But do we really consider that every time we buy something new? What do we buy because we're just conditioned to acquire? We've been trained by these marketing and advertising people for aspirational things, the next car, the bigger house, the vacation home, and whatever. And all those are great and they help us live our lives and enjoy our lives. And if that's what you want, that is absolutely fine. However, if you pause to consider that, okay, I'm buying this holiday home, for example, who am I going to leave that to? Do you put their name on the deed? Do you gift it to them and use it in your lifetime? Whatever. These are things you need to consider. The minute that you consider them, there's a reprioritization that happens in your head. I found it happened in my head. Today, material possessions are well and good, and I enjoy them very much. But I made a conscious decision to spend my money on experiences and to really enjoy, like I said, being alive. And the possessions that I do have, I decided to invest in meaningful things simply so that my daughter is not left with a whole lot of junk. Stuff that is sentimental to me will not mean anything to her once I'm gone. There will be a few prized possessions that she may or may not appreciate, and in everyone's case, that is different. But the best news for you is that once you get past the fear, there's on the other side, there is joy, there is a liberation that is attached to knowing that we don't actually have to run in the rat race, that we don't actually have to keep on collecting things. And that helps me live in gratitude, that helps me live in joy for every moment that I breathe. It's interesting if you consider breath and the respiratory diseases around death. When we die, people say she took her last breath. No one says the last heartbeat or any other thing. It's the last breath. So to be so intensely grateful for the fact that I'm breathing and that I'm alive, it's absolutely wonderful. And when we think about our loved ones dying, it is very sad. But the qualifier over there is regret. If I feel that when my father goes, am I going to regret something? My point is live your life today and your relationship today in a way that there will be no regrets. So before my father died, in the last year of his life, we didn't know it was his last year. He wasn't very sick. He was just growing old, but in the last year of his life, it was sort of like an unspoken agreement where we decided to put all the angst of the past in the past. And this last year, we had nice conversations. We spent a lot of time together. We let go, at least I let go of whatever drama I had like sort of collected over the years. And I'm like, okay, that's in the past. And I just let it all go. And I focused on the day. When my father died a year ago, I was actually really free to celebrate his life because I had no regrets. So, my advice to all of you would be, well, more than advice, I would encourage each and every one of you and us to basically consider the death of your uh, father, mother, siblings, friends, whoever, grandparents, and imagine how you will feel on the day that they die. And if you can do something about that feeling today, then do it. And when they do die, be cognizant of the fact that it's a part of nature. Living things die, and it's okay. And it's also okay to feel sad. It's also completely fine to have, um, you know, I won't say regrets, but basically to wish that there was more time to make more memories, to spend more time with the people. That's completely fine, but don't dwell on them. Let the feelings come and pass through you. Understand that there are the 7 stages of grief, as I mentioned, and you will have to go through all of them. It's not sequential, it's back and forward, and it can last a day, it can last months, it can last years. Each person is different. Each person's processing of life is different. Each person's understanding is also unique and individual. However, we will have to go through those stages, and the power of labeling, um, there's a lot of healing when you are able to identify something. When you identify something, then that is the beginning of the process. So, what I do with the stages of grief is, if I'm in a situation where there's been a big change in my life or a big loss or equivalent of that, then I scan my body, I listen to my emotions and my thoughts, and it's like, oh, I'm irritated. Okay, that means irritation falls in the wheelhouse of anger. Why am I irritated? Okay, I'm irritated because I had this huge loss, or I am snapping at people because I'm going through this. And when I identify it, it takes the charge away from it. It gives me responsibility. So when I'm testing a theory or I'm bargaining with something, or, I haven't reached full acceptance yet, and I haven't surrendered to the moment and to what is, then I'm going through one of those stages. And just identifying and qualifying them gives me great power. And I would encourage each of you to use the stages of grief as the powerful tool that it can be. I often get asked, how does one start a conversation with somebody, with a loved one, a parent, or a spouse, about death, if they're not open to the subject? So, like with anything else in life, you start with taking responsibility for yourself. So once you have put your affairs in order, then you're in a stronger position to start encouraging them to do the same. And the conversation need not be about them at all. It should just be about the fact that that you have come to terms with the fact that death is inevitable and it's going to happen to us all. And so therefore you want this to happen when you die. And if they say, oh, let's not have this conversation, it's bad luck or morbid, you say, no, it's a fact of life. It's how you take it. You set the tone with yourself. You say how you have reprioritized your life, how you have put your affairs in order, how you have eliminated the low level stress in your life that is that occurs because of the fear of death, that you've dealt with all of that and how wonderful things are. And as you slowly bring this into conversation, and from a sense of self responsibility, 100% responsibility for your own life, your own thoughts, your own feelings, invariably the people around you will end up doing the same. You set the tone by normalizing it. You set the tone of opening up conversations about how they would like things done, and that enables you to honor it once they're gone. And Of course, again, I must say that none of this means that it's not going to be painful to lose a loved one. It always is. It takes time to heal from it, to um, remember to focus on the good times, on the memories, which is why we have today to make those memories, to live a relationship with no regret, build it up so that there is no regret when the person invariably uh, goes. So, in conclusion, I will just say that to accept that life is finite frees us to live life in full gratitude and with joy and appreciation for the every moment that we do live, so that when we go and when our loved ones go, we can focus on celebrating their lives. Once upon a time, this is how it used to be. Communities used to get together and celebrate the life of the person who's gone. Today, as we've gone into more and more nuclear families and smaller units, our grief completely isolates us, and that is where there is the problem. A big part of the problem lies there, and so by having these conversations, we expand it, and that expansion gives us freedom. I hope I have helped. I hope that your lives are full of joy and gratitude and appreciation, and you can live your life to the fullest. And when you do go, that you have left your affairs in order so that your loved ones can concentrate on the grieving process and not on all the practical stuff that they will have to take care of anyway, but they'll have to take care of double or treble or quadruple amounts if you have not left things in order. I wish you all a lot of love and joy. And thank you for having me. Thank you for listening to me. This is Natasha Sharma. Bye for now.